Does a simple question like, can you hang your coat up in the closet, please, somehow spiral into an argument again?
Is it new day, maybe new words, but it's the same fighting energy? That's because something is happening under the surface before the words start flowing.
So that's why today we're going to show you why the simplest questions are actually landmines.
And a new way of engaging in conflict that saves the relationship.
So grab your pen and let's begin.
Hi.
Okay.
So, why does every conversation end up as an argument?
First, I'm going to say we're the perfect people to talk about that. And you might be thinking because we are relationship coaches and do this for a living, but the reality is we have a very rich history of
fighting.
Yeah, and turning if someone were watching simple statements into an argument and they go, what just happened?
Yeah.
You just asked him to put his shoes away. And that's because behind a simple question, it's loaded with information. And that information comes in several forms. So there's energy in the words. And your nervous system is created to detect the subtle differences in energy. So I may say, can you please put your shoes away? But you have more communication coming in my send than just the words.
So words, and then underneath the words is the nonverbal communication. And that tone is indicative of what kind of energy you're bringing to the question/demand. Pick up your coat off the floor and put it in the closet.
And even if I say
it's been the 7th time I've asked you to do it this week.
Right. So that please is not a benign, actually sweet please. It's a please. And encoded in that one word is if I have to ask you again, all hell's going to break loose. And why don't you know better? And why haven't you done this? And why are you causing me this angst and all this energy, which is coming at you?
The please. Each syllable emphasis. There's a lot of energy there.
And so being nice with our words ends up being a way that we can actually manipulate our partner.
Yeah.
Because you can't refute or come back and blame me for the words. I said please. I was being mindful. And so it actually starts a trigger in our nervous system. We go into fight or flight or freeze. And once we're in that mode, wow, there is no listening that happens. It's actually physiologically impossible to take in what we need to take in and to see other when we're triggered. We become self-absorbed in that moment.
We have so much internal noise happening in our system that we just don't have the resources to go towards taking in more noise or more information that I can end up being so full with all my stories and emotions and all the temperature and the heat, everything. I'm not in a place to take in. I'm in a place to come back.
That's exactly it. And you were talking about stories. I mean, that's another thing just to really highlight, right? Because we're in our stories. We're not in reality. We're in our stories. And those stories are old stories, meaning events and exchanges and judgments that we had before the relationship. But also we have history together. So we may have felt this way in other parts. So today it might have been the shoes. Yesterday it might have been about the dishes, and so on and so on. So we have history. And then plus there's the current information and my own stories. Like I might have a story about myself that, I never do anything right. Or I'm always getting in trouble or no one ever sees me or understands me. So I may have my own internal stories that add to the triggering.
Yeah. So when we get triggered, and there are two nervous systems in a relationship, mine and yours, but when that triggering event, that inciting incident with the coat at the front door happens, then we stop looking out for each other and we start looking out for ourselves.
Oh yeah, that's it.
So I'm looking out for me and defending why I didn't hang up the coat.
And why that's okay.
And your nervous system get triggered because you're like, wait a minute, where's the us? You didn't hang up the coat for our front entrance to be clean. There's no more us. Now you're defending the point of view that you have. So both people, we move apart and we start throwing lit matches almost across the space into the relational space, which is why we have the explosions.
Right. So we went from being a team to being opposing players. We went from being a doubles match really quick to being on opposite sides of the court. And then because at the core of most arguments for couples are a theme of issues. Power.
Yes, power is one for sure.
Trust.
Who has power and how is it shared? Yep.
Trust.
Yep. Is it safe to be with you? Whose back do you have? Do you have my back? Do you have our back? Yep, for sure.
Influence.
Influence, yeah. How is that power yielded? Do I get to influence you easily? Do you influence me easily? Or am I resistant to being influenced by you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what seems like a simple request actually is ripe and loaded with a lot of important information for each relationship. Mm-hmm. So if we want to turn that around and we want to use the information the way it's meant to be, the argument is actually indicative that there are conversations that haven't happened. And there's attention that needs to be given to the relational space to make it healthy again. There's toxic energy in the air, and the argument is trying to get your attention. It's not trying to beat you up and bring you down and make your life miserable and break you apart. It's trying to say, hey, can you look here? Because you have been missing all these other cues and clues that there is wounds in the air and there is attention needed for healing.
Yeah. I think the common malpractice that couples approach conflict is that they believe that just because it's a new day, it might be a new argument. And so we have many topics that we need to go through and because there's just so many things to talk about and that we argue about, when in fact when we reduce the content down, do I matter to you? Am I seen as an equal in your eyes?
Yeah.
I think when we boil that thing down, you ends up being, couples really argue about really just three main areas. Yeah. And so the front door of leaving the coat and not picking up my coat and hanging it but just letting it flow means that the front door is messy.
Right.
And that messiness, we have different points of view of what that messiness might be. What does a clean front door look like? Right. We might have differences in that.
Yeah.
And because we have differences in it, I want my way of cleanliness and you want your way of cleanliness, but we don't have our agreed upon.
And that's it, our agreed upon.
What is clean for you and I?
Yeah.
Because obviously, I'll be less clean or more clean and vice versa. But instead of fighting for your way and my way, how do we come to some mutual agreement on the topic of the entranceway of the house?
And that's a great segue into, so then here's what you do so that those arguments happen less. And when they do happen, you can use them for the betterment of the relationship and not the destruction of the relationship.
Yeah.
So the first thing.
What's step one?
Step one, we take a drink. Step one is actually to pause and stop. So when that rupture happens, that's your indicator. Stop. No more talking. We need to give some attention.
Because I know both when you and I get flared up, we both want to move towards
being right.
Yes, but
oh no, that wasn't what you were going to say.
Yes, and you'll think you're right, I'm thinking right, and we both move to words, and then the relational space just gets filled, and we get piled upon with words and more words and more words and more words, and that is not adding value to the relational space.
No, and actually, so that's why sometimes you actually have to take even just a very short time out to let nervous systems regulate. And on average, our nervous systems need about 20 minutes to regulate, but sometimes we'll take just 5 or 10 minutes just to calm down and recenter, and then we can come back with what is it that we want to achieve. Before we say anything, I know that I need to get clear on why am I coming back? Am I coming back to argue why I'm right and you're wrong and you should be apologizing to me because we're just going to get in another argument?
And that's an indication that the nervous systems haven't come down. You haven't paused long enough. So you need to pause long enough so that you can internally feel like, oh, I'm of new energy now. I'm of different energy, and I'm now able to engage with my partner in a different form. Otherwise, if it's the same energy, it's just going to just be the same note. Like if we're if we're arguing and arguing is red, if I just keep coming back with red color, we're just going to have red.
We're just deepening the red.
That's it. And so we need to internally bring a different temperature or a different color to the argument space, but also acknowledging when you having time, like I can influence your nervous system by taking a break. And that, if I come back with different energy, you may have different energy because we've had that pause. So I'm mindful that there's always two nervous systems, not just one. So I'm taking care of my nervous system and being mindful of Ellen's as well.
As you talk about that, you see I just took this deep breath like, oh, that was really nice. And then when we do come back, it's helpful to start with a statement of positive and mutual intent. So something like, I'd like to come back together and repair. I want to find my way. Sometimes I'll say, I want to find my way back to you. And what just happened was not okay. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I think that's key because it's talking about what we want.
Yes.
Not what we don't want. Because if we keep talking about what we don't want, we're just going to keep creating more of what we don't want. Yeah. So I think we got to talk about what is it that we want, which is
Can you imagine?
Connection.
Sorry, I'm interrupting because just you say that it's like I just had this vision, like someone comes up to ask directions and said, "How do I get to
Oh, you know what? Do you know where the CN Tower is? Yeah, nowhere near there.
Yeah, and don't go there.
That's kind of like
and don't go there. But okay, does that help? Good. Have a good day.
Don't go south.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think when we're talking about our intent of like, I want to repair, I want us to get along, I want us to get back to, being that best friends again. I want to work this out. I want to come to an agreement on what the front door entranceway looks like for us that we both can feel good about.
Yes,
right?
And at that point, it's not about arguing logic. At that point, we're entering into a conversation that's about understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I take the time to listen and understand your point of view and why that's important to you and how what I said impacted you.
And I think that what's good about that is that if you're wanting to learn my point of view, that means that only one of the two people are putting words into the relational space. And that's the steps of the Imago dialogue. Separating roles, one person talks, the other person just repeats back and mirrors the information, but there's no new content coming from the other person. So I just get to freely talk about what it is that's important to me. And the key ingredients in that, in what I'm talking to you about, is not my stories, not more content. It's that I'm talking about my need and my emotion.
Yeah.
So I might say, when I come home after a long day, I want to feel free. Mm-hmm. And I want to be relaxed. And so I might share my point of view, my need, and my emotion to you.
Yeah, and you might actually have a story that says, you grew up in a house where you were punished and chastised for hanging things up, and there's so much rigidity and so much criticism that there's a part of you that now wants to have a chance to live in a house where a jacket can be laid down and it's okay.
Yeah, and so I may share that be my point of view, and that's my story. That's what's going on for me, and then and for Ellen to show that she gets and understand. Okay, I understand that's your point of view. She doesn't have to agree with it, but you just hear my point of view.
And I can say, oh, hearing that, it makes sense why you have energy about being asked, especially in the tone that I brought. Mm-hmm. Hanging up your jacket, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean my need for his jacket to be hung up goes away. It means I no longer villainize him for his not hanging up the jacket.
And then at some point, you get the talking stick, and that, I've had my turn. I don't get to, I don't add content into the relational space. You do now. I'm just the mirror.
Yeah,
I just hear it back.
just
So I hear
receive.
your point of view, and you might say things like,
I grew up in a house where everything was chaotic and messy, or me having an orderly home or neat home means a lot. Or I might say, I'm so busy and I have so much going on inside that when the external environment gets messy and busy, it just adds to my angst. And hanging the coats up is just one way. It calms my nervous system and I feel a sense of order. And so I would love it if we could start a practice of hanging coats up.
So by hearing Ellen's input, and if I breathe that in, then I'm allowing myself to be influenced by new information. Maybe I never have heard this before, but if I breathe that in and acknowledge, oh, I understand why you have the point of view that you have and how you feel about it and what your need is. Oh, well then that makes sense. Again, I don't have to come to a full agreement and, fine, we just do it your way, but that makes sense. So then with that knowledge of you sharing and me sharing, now what can we do to find a mutual solution? Now that solution at the front door might be, yeah, I'll hang up the jackets. Let's talk about the shoes and hats and gloves. Do they also need to go away?
Or it might be a compromise where I say, when you come in and I hear you're tired and you've had it, from the day, go ahead, throw it out there. Enjoy the feeling of that because I hear you never got that. But before bed or maybe by after dinner, can you go back and hang that up at some point?
And then when I hear that, I go, oh, well, I have the freedom to come in, throw my jacket down, and then I'll hang it up later. I'm now thinking, oh, why would I have to go walk back into the entranceway to go hang up my jacket? I'm just going to hang up my jacket. It's like, what's the worth the effort? And this is not the stake I'm going to die on of like, oh, well, no, I don't want to hang up my jacket when I come in the door. Maybe it's just easier when I come in the door, I just hang up my jacket.
And in the end, whether the jacket gets hung up immediately or not, now you see the energy between us changes. We understand each other differently. We get to feel a sense of pride and accomplishment that we did this, that we navigated this part of our relationship. It feels really good to come on the other side of that power dynamic and actually have connection. And that is the we think, the we mentality, and the us culture.
I do think that's an important point, is that it's not about the win-lose. Oh, I lost. You got what you wanted. I lost. It's that we still win. Yeah, we win.
That's great.
We win because then that conversation doesn't need to happen anymore.
Yeah.
We win. We've negotiated it. We get our evening back.
Yeah.
So let's negotiate that because we can be bigger than the coat.
Yeah.
And we can be bigger than that power dynamic of I get to do my way, well, I want my way. If every conversation feels like a landmine, that doesn't mean that your relationship is broken. It means that your nervous systems are overprotecting you. So the next time that you can feel that heat rising, do not power through. Pause, name the emotion and the need, and reach for connection.
The moment that you reach for safety and understanding instead of winning, everything changes in your dynamics. So if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing.
And check out this next video.